Pakistan's fragile economic recovery is losing momentum as geopolitical tensions push inflation back into double digits and limit financial choices for households and businesses, according to a new report by the Policy Research Institute of Market Economy. The private think tank known as Prime said the macroeconomic recovery that began in 2025 was now stalling. Consumer inflation ranged between 10.9% and 11.7% from April to June, while the sensitive price index, which tracks essential household items, rose to 12.8% by June. The report said renewed inflation was reducing the purchasing power and economic freedom of individuals and businesses, but it argued that Pakistan's problems go beyond rising prices. According to Prime, debt servicing and defense spending consume 94% of net federal revenue. That leaves only 6% for pensions, civil government expenditure, development, health, education, infrastructure, and social protection. The report also highlighted a major imbalance in Pakistan's tax system. More than 80% of the country's workforce operates in the informal economy, according to the 2025 Labour Force Survey. Prime calculated that a salaried person earning 5 million rupees annually faces an effective tax rate of 33.29%, with taxes deducted directly from their income. A shopkeeper earning the same amount may pay only 0.5% under presumptive and fixed tax systems. The think tank said the latest federal budget offered some relief to salaried workers but failed to close the gap between documented and informal income. Prime assessed Pakistan using the Heritage Foundation's Index of Economic Freedom, which gave the country a score of 48.9 and placed it in the repressed category. Pakistan received particularly low scores for property rights, judicial effectiveness, government integrity, and fiscal health. But Prime also questioned some of the index's more favorable assessments. It said high scores for government spending and tax burden represented Pakistan as a lean, low-tax state. A description it argued was inconsistent with economic reality. The report raised similar concerns about Pakistan's financial freedom score. In May 2025, credit to the government stood at 37.2 trillion rupees, compared with only 13.8 trillion rupees for the private sector. This means government borrowing absorbed nearly 3 times as much as credit as the entire private sector, potentially limiting financing available for businesses and investment. Prime also identified some positive policy developments. The national tariff policy has reduced customs duties across more than 3,000 tariff lines. Despite those reductions, customs revenue increased from nearly 1.59 trillion rupees to 1.65 trillion rupees during the last financial year. The budget also reduced the super tax in some cases, removed the income surcharge, and provided exemptions for firms earning at least 80% of their revenue from exports. Pakistan's fiscal deficit is projected to fall 3.6% of gross domestic product with a primary surplus of 2%. However, Prime said much of this improvement reflected lower interest rates rather than deep structural reform. The think tank called for a shift from a short-term IMF-led stabilization toward the strategy focused on economic resilience. Its recommendations include reducing the general sales tax to 15%, lowering corporate tax to 25%, abolishing the super tax, and expanding the effective tax base. It also proposed limiting government borrowing, capping customs duties at 15%, and replacing the petroleum development levy with a uniform sales tax to make fuel pricing more transparent. The report's central warning is that stabilizing headline indicators is not enough. Without tax fairness, greater access to private credit, and more room for essential public spending, Pakistan's recovery may remain too narrow to improve economic conditions for most people. For more on this, read the Dawn story and report linked in description.